this one student asked a question that went something like this. He said, would you still worship and follow God if there was no reward? And I thought for a second and I answered, I said, no. And that caught him off guard. And I said, because I think it's not possible. It's inconceivable. There's something logically absurd here, because when we're talking about God, we are talking about the greatest conceivable being, a being of incommensurate worth. If he has made a way for us to know him, that is reward in and all of itself. Like, I can't imagine a concept of God as the greatest conceivable being in which there is literally no reward. That kind of conception of God wouldn't be God as we understand it. And so that's why my answer was no. And it's almost like kind of like a logical absurdity. It's like he's asking me to conceive of something that just doesn't make sense. It's almost like, can you imagine a sun that only produced coldness? I'm like, well, yeah, but kind of inherent. I mean, what a sun is, kind of central to our understanding of a sun, is that it's a ball of fire. I mean, you're asking me to like imagine like a ball of solid ice. I mean, I can imagine that, but at that point, it's not a sun. It's something meaningfully different. And so asking this question, would you still follow God if there was no reward? It's kind of like, can you imagine a God different than the God that actually exists? And would you follow that God?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is no. So when it comes to this conversation, right, I don't think you can separate the truth from the goodness, because the very nature of God is such that he's, being of unimaginable worth and value and beauty and goodness. And the opportunity for us to know him and partake in any way of his being, it would be some kind of reward.
Yeah. Because that was my question. Like, if I'd been asked that question, I would have had to ask, what do you mean by reward? Because is the question, would you still follow him if there's nothing in it for you, kind of thing? And I mean, I guess we tend to think of reward like material goods, or I'm going to get a payoff at the end or something like that. So I've taken, of course, back to Job, who lost all good things, right, in his life, his family, his wealth, his home, his health, like all those things went. And yet we see Job at some point regaining true satisfaction, like a reward, but he didn't get any of his stuff back yet. Or his life hadn't been restored this side of heaven. What he got was God. Like, God answered him. And God didn't even answer him directly. He just answered in such a way that Job was satisfied with just God, right? Having him. So I think you're right, Mike. He's the reward, and he's enough. He's the maker of all good things. So it all comes back. So it all comes back to him. And you think about, well, what if heaven doesn't have, like, God made everything that is. Who says he couldn't make every good thing in heaven for you? He's the reward.